if you can take it, it's all about you. And if you can pay it, it's all about paying. Who's gonna make it? I am the game, you don't wanna play me. I am control, no way you can shake me. I am heavy debt, no way you can pay me. I am the pain, and I know you can't take me. Look over your shoulder, ready to run like a Cleveland bitch from a smoking gun. I am the game, and I make the rules. So move on out, you can die like a fool. Try to figure out what the move's gonna be. Come on over, sucker, why don't you ask me? Don't you forget there's a price you can pay. Cause I am the game and I want to play.
What is up, everybody? It is your Commish. It feels like forever since I've done a recording. I'm pretty sure the last time I actually did a recording, I had no voice from some sickness going on. And that's, roughly about 3 weeks ago, I think, when I last did one of these recordings for live chats here. So here's what we're going to do, right? It is week. Man, long see football week 4. I have no idea if my stuff does that myself. All right, I'm back. Hopefully, I saw myself going bye-bye. I don't know how much of you guys heard it, but here I am back. Hopefully my internet doesn't do any more freaking out here. But you never know. I think that's what happened actually the last time I recorded something. My internet decided to freak out, and I lost a little service in and somewhere. So I will try to be very, very quick doing this. So let's talk real quick about our top 10, and then we're going to break down these matchups and hopefully get out of here in a quick fashion. So let's go over the new top 10, right? Not much changed, a little bit. The top 3 staying the same. Presbyterian Blue Hose, congratulating the ones in the TCAA, and for the first time ever, finishing undefeated. We have never had a school finish the regular season undefeated. That is just like step 1 for the Blue Hose. Obviously, it doesn't matter unless you win the last game, as they say in Moneyball, right? So even though Presbyterian undefeated in the regular season, I am sure that is not the final chapter for them that they want to have. So number 2, staying there, Bourbon Ballers, University of Kentucky, no moving, defeated the Grimes State University Mustangs last week, who they will be rematching here in the championship week here, and we'll talk about their matchup in a little bit. Speaking of rematches, staying at number 3, SCLSU Mud Dogs, even losing last week. No movement for them. Still very solid overall scores for the Mud Dogs. So they stayed at number 3 even after losing to number 1, Presbyterian. And they will be rematching as well in the SEC title game, so we'll talk more about them in a little bit. Moving up 3 spots is the Queensland Tech Hokies. Moved up 3 spots after defeating then number 6, University of Thugonomics. Dropping down just 1 spot after losing last week is DBAP University. They lost to the ranked number 10 Purdue Plague. Number 6, we just talked about them dropping 1 spot, the Mustangs, Grimes State University, after losing to the Bourbon Ballers, but they get themselves a rematch this coming week. Can they redeem themselves? Would it be enough to enter the Final Four? Just had a small little conversation, or I guess, not really much of a conversation, kind of a question and then an answer in one of the channels a second ago. And let me tell you, I was getting ready to post what I thought would be the breakdowns, kind of like I was doing for each conferences, win, lose, what would happen. And I started getting a pretzel in my head when I was looking at what would happen if number 1 lost, number 2 lost. And, what does that mean? Because obviously that puts the Mud Dogs in because they would be number 3 and they just beat number 1. I feel like that's a pretty solid spot there to be in. The Hokies won. They're number 4. Why would they ever drop out of the number 4 spot, right? Grime State, right? If they were to beat Kentucky, do they jump up? There's just so many scenarios in that. If there were to be certain schools to lose in this conference title game, and what would that do to the top 4? Let me tell you, it's going to be crazy next week when we try to figure out these bowl games. So in the Final Four, obviously, and definitely not doing what we've done before, where I bring in a bunch of commissions, a bunch of presidents, hit stuff out, and we talk for like an hour to 2 hours over this system, over the stream yard here and everything. What the hell I'm doing here? Over this thing and picking out bowl games. And every week, or not every week, but every season, there's always an easy top 3. Top 2 for sure. Top 3 pretty much is like a 90%. It's that 4th and final spot that always has discussion. And it could be pretty crazy depending on which, if a couple of schools lost in their conference championship matchup, what that would do for a Final Four. And then not having people to discuss it, it's going to be pretty interesting doing it this different way this year with a formula and rankings and everything else, kind of determining what it's going to look like for these matchups and stuff like that. So, all right, well, back to the top 10. Kind of went off the rails. All right, so number 6, as we just talked about there, the Mustangs dropping that 1 spot for losing last week to the Ballers. Number 7, moving up 2 spots, Bushy Central College. Defeating Sucks to Be University. The winner in that matchup was getting themselves into the Big East Conference title game. So good luck there to Bushy Central, and congratulations getting yourself into the championship game there. Number 8, dropping 2 spots after losing last week to the Hokies. Commissioners, University of Thugonomics, missing out on the conference title game as well. So sitting here at number 8, what does that look like for the Thugs, right? Depending on what happens up above them. Number 9, coming back into the top 10, Louisiana University Knights after defeating Taytown Criminals last week. Also a matchup that was whoever won had a chance to get into their conference title game, and it all depended on what happened between Brock State University and the Florida State Fighting Raccoons. And Brock State pulled off the upset, knocking out, not only giving Florida State a loss, but they knocked them out of the ACC title game and put in 2 other schools. Then number 10, no movement, winning last week, defeating number 4, DBEP University. They're now number 5, is the Purdue Plague, and they are in the conference title game. So dropping out of the top 10 was the Fighting Raccoons. And pretty much what it had been for the last couple of weeks, I believe, is Louisiana and the Fighting Raccoons constantly winning and losing every other week and knocking themselves in and out of the top 10. So I think they kept trading spots in and out of the top 10. So this looks like it's conference championship weekend, guys. Let's do this. Let's go over the the top billing, let's say, game of the week. And it's up here. It's the first one I'm going to talk about here. We're going to talk about number 3, SCLSU Mud Dogs, looking for that revenge after losing last week to the undefeated overall number 1 Presbyterian Blue Hose and their 13-0 record. I eventually need to kind of give these as off-site games where we could have all these things, because we don't have that since these are not considered home games for anybody, just like they do in normal conference titles. You don't play at home. So let's talk about this matchup. You got 9-4 Mud Dogs, 13-0 Presbyterian Blue Hose. No idea if these lineups are set right. It doesn't look like that. Indy is on a bye, so Mud Dogs got to adjust their lineups going into next week or going into tomorrow's game. But overall, in their matchups that they faced each other, Mud Dogs are 3-1. So last week was the very first loss the Mud Dogs have ever had to the Blue Hose. So right now, looking at their matchups, looking at the rosters, you got the Mud Dogs with Justin Herbert, Austin Eckler, Jonathan Taylor, but he's on a bye, so he's going to have to swing in either another wide receiver or running back into there. Stephon Diggs, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and then Travis Kelce, who had a pretty down week last week. And then in that upset loss, had that fumble, costing Kansas City the game. For the Blue Hose, he's got Joe Burrow, Joe Cool, the only one who knows how to defeat Kansas City Chiefs. Saquon Barkley, Nick Chubb, Tyreek Hill, Justin Jefferson, who is just insane. And then he's got Dawson Knox there at the tight end spot. He's also got a cornerback who doesn't look like he'd be playing this week, or he's injured. No, he'd be playing this week. I guess he must be injured because he's got a 0 on his projected points. So must not be playing in the game. So hard to tell what this would look like when it comes to projections because neither one has a full set lineup yet. So, who's going to win that one? Do the Mud Dogs get the revenge? Or do the Blue Hose continue on this quest of undefeatedness? Undefeatedness. I don't think that's a word, but we're going to go with it. Last year, the Mud Dogs were in this conference title game, and they got shelled by Allen Wrench Trade School, who was number one school then, who had also was going on a long undefeated streak as well, and they just got blasted. Allen Wrench threw a 202 on top of them to a 156. It was just, you weren't catching Allen Wrench in that game. But so Mud Dogs, again, looking this time to prevail and get that SEC title game. And what I would say, honestly, winner of this game is in the playoffs. There's no doubt about it. Loser of the game, I would say Presbyterian has a chance to still be in the playoffs. I can't see how if they were to lose, they don't make the playoffs still. Undefeated season, losing in their conference title game. I feel like, obviously they would drop to a 3 to 4 slot. I don't see them out of the playoffs, win or lose, just that they would lose their undefeated season. For the Mud Dogs, a win, obviously they're in. A loss, and they're going to be out. I can't see them sticking in a top 4 spot. I guess really depending on what happens between if Kentucky were to lose or if the Hokies were to lose. Maybe, but I feel like back-to-back losses, that's probably going to be too much for the Mud Dogs to overcome to stay in the top 4 for the playoffs. But they would definitely get themselves into a TCS Bowl. They'd still be one of those top 8 schools, top 10 schools, and make a way into the bowl game. So good luck to both those schools in the SEC. The next matchup popping up for me to talk about, the Big Six. We've got 7-6 Jefferson Community College facing number 10, 8-5 Purdue Plague. In this matchup for Jefferson, you got Jalen Hurts, who's just insane, running and passing, breaking records, just insane. Who can stop him? Can you stop his arm? Can you stop his legs? Apparently nobody knows how to. Damian Pierce, Jamar Chase coming back after being injured, came back last week. Stephon Diggs. He's got Terry McLaurin in there, but he's got a 0 in there, so I'm assuming Washington must be on a bye, so he's got to get somebody else into that spot. And then he's got Dawson Knox. For Purdue, he's got Josh Allen, Saquon Barkley, Austin Eckler, Keenan Allen, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and Mark Andrews. Didn't have a good game, if I recall, last week. And what does it look like for Mark Andrews when you have, Todd Huntley going to be starting quarterback for Baltimore this week? With Lamar Jackson hurting himself, going to be out a couple of weeks, I think they said. So what does that look like for them? So not complete lineup set yet here to give you a full projection of what's going to go on. But what I can tell you is back in week 10 is when these two schools played each other in conference matchups, and Purdue defeated Jefferson by 7 points, 7.1 points back in week 10. So Jefferson Community College looking to see if they can get a little bit of revenge there. Next matchup we have in the Big East, 9-4, number 7, Bushy Central College versus number 4, 9-4, Queensland Tech Hokies. Both these schools new to the TCAA this year. These are brand new, two brand new coaches. I forgot to also mention this in the Big Six matchup, Purdue Plague, first-year coach or president. So to see some new blood. I like when a new president can get into this league and be successful. So I think it's good for the league, honestly. gives us something different. So both these schools are 9-4, number 7 versus number 4. For Bushy Central, he's got Josh Allen, Kenneth Walker III, Jamal Williams, Keenan Allen, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and then Mike Gesicki. For the Tokies, Justin Herbert, Nick Chubb, Austin Eckler, Jamar Chase, Stephon Diggs, TJ Hawkinson. He's got some defensive players that are on bye, so he's got to move out a couple of those people. And then same for Bushy Central. He's got a defensive player who is either on a bye or injured, so he's got to move them out as well. Back in week 3, so they faced each other in the very first conference game that was played this year. Queensland put the hammer down on Bushy Central, defeating them 47 points by 40. So that is a whooping. So Bushy Central is hoping to get a little bit of payback. Now, I didn't do Big 6 one, but I will. A win for Jefferson Community College in the Big 6 title. I don't think gets them into the playoffs, but it does get them most likely into one of the other TCS matchups. I'd say they'd be 8-6. I think right now they're ranked 12 or 13, so they're like an outside looking in to get into that TCS games. Definitely a bowl game for sure. It might just miss the TCS game since they're currently not ranked. Whereas for Purdue, a win, they're currently ranked 10. They're definitely, I'd say that they're out of the playoffs, but a win, they put them at 9-5. I feel like that gives them a really good opportunity to get in one of the other TCS games, being as one of the top 8 schools in the league. All right, so back to the Big 6 or the Big East. Same kind of situation here. If Queensland wins, they're in. They're currently ranked number 4. I can't see them dropping out of it if they were to win in this matchup here. So a win for them, and they're going to be in the playoffs. All speculation, just what I think would happen. For Bushy Central, a win here obviously knocks Queensland out, and depending on how some of those other matchups go between some of the ranked schools ahead of them, they could sneak in. I'm not saying they're completely out of it, but I would say they have one of the better chances of jumping into the Final Four, but it also depends on how some of those matchups go. Queensland, like I said, a win. I believe they're in. I would say they stay in that top 4 spots into the playoffs. Bushy Central, a win, and they have a really good chance of sneaking in that maybe 4th spot. All right, next matchup here, ranked schools. You got number 6, Grimes State University, facing off against number 2, University of Kentucky Bourbon Ballers in a matchup or a rematch of last week's game where the Ballers beat the Mustangs by 15 points. And they have a history of 2-1 where Grimes State is 2-1 overall in Kentucky Bourbon Ballers. So for Grimes State, he's got Kyler Murray, Austin Eckler, Christian McCaffrey, who is just pretty much – what does that look like for him? What kind of role is he going to play this week with now Jimmy G out of injury, and they're going to go to, Mr. Irrelevant, Brock Purdy? Will he end up starting the game? If so, I probably would see a very heavy dose of Christian McCaffrey getting the ball. You got Tyreek Hill, Darius Slayton, and then TJ Hawkinson. For the Ballers, you got Patrick Mahomes, Derrick Henry, Aaron Jones, who is on a bye from the looks of it, Amari Cooper, and Amon-Ra St. Brown, and then George Kittle. So can't give a full synopsis of what this will look like in their matchups, but a big rematch here from last week. And I believe, let me go back to face each other. Yeah, these two schools were actually in the Mountain 6 inaugural conference title matchup last year. They're in it again this year. Last year, Grimes State was able to defeat the Ballers. Can they do it again? What would that look like in Kentucky? If they win, they're in the playoffs. Number 2, they would then have a 13-1 record. For Grimes, if they were to lose, as I was saying in one of the other channels, it depends. They have a really good resume. They don't have 2 losses. I don't know. I can't. I think it would be tough for them to drop out, but there's a chance, I guess. For Grimes State, a win, maybe one of those other schools, kind of like Bushy Central. If they were to win, can they sneak into those 4 spots? who would drop out from that area. So big matchups here for both of them. But definitely interesting of what could happen if Grimes State University were to win and defeat the Ballers. What would that do for both of those schools? But once again, Ballers, if they win, they're in. Grimes State, if they win, they have that outside looking in chance of getting into the top four, but would easily solidify themselves in a TCS bowl game either way. All right, next matchup here. We have the ACC title game. Number 9, Louisiana University facing off Evil Empire University. Big matchup for both of them. Louisiana played last year. Evil Empire, first year in the league. Good to see, like I said, new blood in these conferences. These two schools faced each other back in week 12, where Evil Empire was able to defeat the Knights by 2.4 points. So a little revenge coming here. For the Knights, he's got Jalen Hurts, Dalvin Cook, Derrick Henry, Devontae Adams, Jamar Chase, and Pat Fryermuth. For the Empire, he's got Kyler Murray, Tony Pollard, who I feel is getting a lot more reps than Ezekiel is. I feel like he's a lot more productive right now, too. And then he's got Ramondre Stevenson, A.J. Brown, DeAndre Hopkins, and T.J. Hawkinson. Neither one has any players on a bye, not scoring any points. So this could be what their matchup could look like if nothing has changed between now and then. And right now, the Knights have a 7-point projected lead in their matchup. But a big matchup there for them. Same kind of scenario, I would say. I don't think either school has a chance to get into the playoffs if they were to win. Louisiana, they're ranked 9 and win would definitely solidify them in the TCS Bowls. I just don't think it would be a playoff. For Evil Empire, it would give them their 9th win. Definitely not in the playoffs, and would be one of those schools that could sneak in to one of the other TCS bowl games, but they would definitely have themselves locked into getting a bowl game in general. All right, and the final matchup with conference title matchups here. We have the 7-6 Missouri Manscapers taking on the 8-5 Samurai Jackson University. And if you would have told me 6 weeks ago, I think it was, which was what their last loss was, which I believe was the loss that they had against their rival in Brock State University, where they got renamed for a little bit, which I think I just took the names off of everybody, but I think it was like the Royal School of Losing or something. Since then, Samurai took that personal, and they've on a 6-game winning streak. Here they are in the Pac-6 Conference Championship game, where they were last year. And if you remember, they won that. And if you remember, they won the title last year. So this matchup here for the Manscapers: Justin Herbert, Saquon Barkley, Josh Jacobs, Keenan Allen, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and Mark Andrews. For Samurai, Dak Prescott, Aaron Jones, so he has to get him out of there, Devontae Adams, A.J. Brown, Justin Jefferson, and T.J. Hawkinson. So can't really predict what's going to happen here because he's got to switch out that running back, get somebody else in there. Quarterbacks, he's saying, are now healthy. Dak Prescott is healthy again, and he's slinging that pill around there all around. What happens if they do get Odell Beckham? He won't be playing him this week, but that can do something for Samurai later on in the bowl game. These two schools faced each other back in week 6, right around the time where Dak was hurt, and the Manscapers defeated the Samurai Jackson University by 2 points in the projection of what's going on, because Samurai's got to mess with his lineup, but Samurai looking to get some of that revenge. When it comes to bowl games, the winner of this one, neither one has a chance to get into the playoffs. Neither one is ranked. Too low down the pecking order there. But a win for either one, outside looking in on one of the TCS games, bowls, but definitely they have bowl game written on them for either one. I have to say 8 wins, 7 wins. You got to at least have 6 wins. And I was doing the math earlier, looking at how many bowl games we have, how many schools would be in it. And I think we're at I think there's like 18 schools that will be in a bowl game. And I think all the 7-win schools would justify to getting themselves in there. I think there's like one 6-win school that may have a chance to get into the bowl games, possibly. So kind of have to see what happens there. And so in the next week, we'll break down the bowl game, talk about the bowl games and stuff like that, and announce them, and this new style of what we're going to do where a ranking system is going to decide picks, and we're going to let you guys pick your opponent. So in the bowl games, or pick your bowl games, people will be able to pick their opponents. So it's going to be a little bit interesting, a little bit different. It's what one of the other leagues I'm doing. I kind of like it, so I think it should be good. All right, so there is your matchups, conference title games. Got your top 10 rankings. A couple of scenarios, really what's going to happen. Win or lose on some of these people, but that's what we're going to do here. So I hope everybody has themselves a good week, conference championship title games. And then next week we will be discussing bowl games and everything of that nature. So if you guys have any questions on anything, let me know. Tomorrow, all the visits that had occurred from this past week and get those all up to date. And I think that's about all I got left to do. I have to do a few other maintenance things for the league behind the scenes, but other than that, I think everything will be good. So hope everyone has a good week. Good luck to everybody in the conference championship games. They'll have a good one. See you.
It's all about the game and how you play it.